Judge Frank Caprio has seen thousands of cases in his 30 years on the bench, but when 79-year-old James Sullivan walks into court clutching a folded American flag to his chest, something tells the judge this case is different. James is cited for disturbing the peace after confronting his younger neighbor. The charge seems simple. The fine is only $150. But as Judge Caprio begins asking questions, he discovers a secret so heartbreaking, so profound, that it stops the entire courtroom cold. This wasn't a flag. It was a father's last connection to his fallen son. And what the arrogant neighbor did to it demands more than legal judgment. It demands moral justice. Hit subscribe and tell me where you're watching from in the comments, because what Judge Caprio does next proves why he's the most compassionate judge in America. It's a quiet Tuesday morning in Providence Municipal Court. The autumn sunlight filters through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the wooden benches. Judge Frank Caprio sits behind his bench, reviewing the morning's docket. Traffic violations, small claims, routine matters that make up the daily work of municipal court. But when the bailiff calls the next case, something in the air changes. James Michael Sullivan, citation for disturbing the peace. Through the courtroom doors walks a man who carries his 79 years with the unmistakable bearing of a soldier. James Sullivan is thin, his shoulders slightly stooped with age, but there's dignity in every step. He's wearing a pressed shirt, clean slacks, and a Korean War veteran's cap. And clutched against his chest, held with both hands like it might slip away, is a folded American flag in a triangular display case. Judge Caprio looks up from his paperwork, and his experienced eyes immediately register that something about this case is different. The way James holds that flag, the way his weathered hands grip the case, the way he walks with purpose despite his age. "Mr. Sullivan, good morning," Judge Caprio says with his characteristic warmth. "Please approach the bench." James walks forward slowly, his shoes making soft sounds on the courtroom floor. He never loosens his grip on the flag case. When he reaches the defendant's position, he stands at attention, an old habit that never leaves a soldier. "Good morning, Your Honor," James says. His voice carries the slight tremor of age, but underneath it is steel. Judge Caprio glances at the citation on his desk, then back at James. "Mr. Sullivan, I see here you're cited for disturbing the peace. The complaint was filed by your neighbor, a Mr. Marcus Webb. Can you tell me what happened?" James takes a careful breath. "Your Honor, 3 days ago I had a disagreement with my neighbor. Things got heated. The police were called. I accept responsibility for raising my voice, and I'm here to face whatever consequences you decide are appropriate." It's a straightforward answer. Respectful. Accountable. But Judge Caprio has been doing this long enough to know when there's more to a story. "Mr. Sullivan, I appreciate your honesty, but before we discuss consequences, I'd like to understand what caused this disagreement. Can you tell me what happened?" James's jaw tightens. His grip on the flag case intensifies. "Your Honor, Mr. Webb and I have been neighbors for 2 years. We've never had problems before, but 3 days ago, something happened that I couldn't let pass." Judge Caprio leans forward slightly. "What happened, Mr. Sullivan?" "He disrespected this flag, Your Honor." James lifts the case slightly, his voice catching. "He threw it on the ground during an argument and told me it was just fabric, told me to get over it." A murmur runs through the courtroom gallery. Several people shift in their seats. An elderly woman in the third row shakes her head slowly. Judge Caprio's expression becomes more serious. "He threw your flag on the ground?" "Yes, sir. We were having a disagreement about his music being too loud late at night. I asked him politely to turn it down. He got angry, came onto my property, and when he saw this flag on my porch, he grabbed it and threw it on the ground. When I picked it up, he laughed and said those words. 'It's just fabric, old man. Get over it.'" Judge Caprio sets down his pen. This is the moment when he moves beyond legal procedure into something deeper. "Mr. Sullivan, may I ask about this flag? It's clearly very important to you." James's eyes begin to glisten. He looks down at the flag case in his hands, and when he speaks, his voice is barely above a whisper. "Your Honor, this flag was draped over my son's casket." The courtroom falls into absolute silence. You could hear a pin drop. Judge Caprio's expression transforms. The compassion that has made him beloved by millions rises to the surface. "Your son served our country?" Yes, sir. United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Michael James Sullivan. He did 2 tours in Afghanistan. On his second tour, March 15, 2011, his convoy hit an IED outside Helmand Province. Michael was 28 years old. James's voice breaks on those last words. Several people in the gallery are already reaching for tissues. Judge Caprio stands up from his bench and walks around to the front, his signature move when a case touches his heart deeply. Mr. Sullivan, I am so profoundly sorry for your loss. Thank you, Your Honor. It's been 12 years, but some days it feels like yesterday. May I ask, was your son your only child? James nods. Yes, sir, just Michael. His mother, my wife Catherine, she passed 4 years ago. Cancer. So this flag, Your Honor, it's all I have left of my family. It's the last thing that touched my son. When they handed it to me at Arlington, when they said, on behalf of a grateful nation, this flag became my most sacred possession. Judge Caprio's eyes fill with tears. After 3 decades on the bench, he's seen humanity at its best and worst. But this story, this father's pain, cuts straight to his heart. And your neighbor knew this? He knew what this flag meant to you? James nods again. Yes, Your Honor. I've told him about Michael. I've shown him pictures. Last Memorial Day, he even saw me placing flowers by this flag. He knew exactly what he was doing when he threw it on the ground. At this moment, Judge Caprio does something unexpected. He looks toward the gallery. Is Mr. Marcus Webb present in this courtroom? A young man in the 4th row stands up. Marcus Webb is 32, wearing jeans and a casual shirt. There's no remorse on his face, just irritation at being here. Mr. Webb, please come forward. Marcus walks to the front with the kind of casual arrogance that immediately tells everyone in the courtroom exactly who he is. Mr. Webb, Judge Caprio says, his voice still measured but carrying new weight. Did you file this complaint against Mr. Sullivan? Yes, Your Honor. He threatened me. He got in my face, started yelling. I felt unsafe. And before that happened, did you throw Mr. Sullivan's flag on the ground? Marcus shrugs. It was sitting on his porch. We were arguing, and I moved it out of the way. He completely overreacted. Moved it out of the way? Judge Caprio's tone sharpens. Mr. Webb, witnesses say you grabbed the flag and threw it on the ground. Is that accurate? Marcus shifts his weight. I mean, I guess, but it's just a flag, Your Honor. He acted like I committed a crime. The courtroom erupts in angry whispers. A man in a Navy veteran's jacket half rises from his seat before his wife pulls him back down. Judge Caprio raises his hand for silence. Mr. Webb, do you know what this flag represents to Mr. Sullivan? He mentioned his son was in the military or something. Or something. Judge Caprio's voice carries disbelief. Mr. Webb, this flag was draped over the casket of Staff Sergeant Michael Sullivan, who died serving our country in Afghanistan. Mr. Sullivan has lost his son and his wife. This flag is his most precious possession, and you threw it on the ground and called it just fabric. For the first time, Marcus looks slightly uncomfortable. I didn't know it was that serious. You didn't know? Or you didn't care? Marcus doesn't answer. Judge Caprio turns back to James. Mr. Sullivan, after your neighbor threw the flag on the ground, what exactly did you do? Your Honor, I picked up the flag. I held it close, and I told Mr. Webb that he had no right to touch it, no right to disrespect my son's memory. My voice got loud. I admit that. I told him he should be ashamed. The neighbors heard the commotion, and someone called the police. Did you threaten Mr. Webb physically? No, sir. I never touched him. I never threatened violence. I just told him he was wrong and that he needed to leave my property. Judge Caprio looks at the citation report. The responding officer noted that you were visibly upset but non-threatening. Mr. Webb claimed he felt threatened by your tone. Before we continue with what Judge Caprio decides, I want to ask you something. In the comments below, tell me, have you ever witnessed someone disrespect a veteran or their family? How did it make you feel? Share your story, because respect for those who served isn't optional. It's our duty as Americans. Judge Caprio takes a long moment, looking between James Sullivan, who stands with dignity despite his pain, and Marcus Webb, who still hasn't grasped the magnitude of what he's done. Mr. Webb, let me help you understand something. That flag you threw on the ground represents a young man who volunteered to defend this country. It represents a mother who died of a broken heart after losing her only child. It represents a 79-year-old father who wakes up every single day missing his son. When you disrespected that flag, you didn't just disrespect fabric. You disrespected sacrifice, love, and memory. Marcus finally has the grace to look down at his shoes. Judge Caprio continues. Mr. Sullivan raised his voice on his own property after you committed an act of profound disrespect. That is not disturbing the peace. That is a father defending the memory of his fallen son. The judge returns to his bench and looks at the citation one final time. Mr. Sullivan, this citation is dismissed immediately. You owe nothing. You did nothing wrong. In fact, you showed remarkable restraint. Many people would have responded far more severely to what Mr. Webb did. James's shoulders sag with relief. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Webb, however, we're not finished. Marcus looks up sharply. Mr. Webb, I'm holding you in contempt of this court for filing a frivolous complaint designed to harass a veteran and his family. That's a $500 fine. Furthermore, I'm ordering you to complete 40 hours of community service at the Providence Veterans Center, where you will learn exactly what service and sacrifice mean. Marcus's mouth falls open. Your Honor, that's not fair. I'm the one who filed the complaint. Judge Caprio's voice becomes cold. Mr. Webb, you're 32 years old. Staff Sergeant Sullivan was 28 when he died protecting people like you. People who have the freedom to play loud music, to live their lives without fear, because men and women like Michael Sullivan stood between them and danger. The fact that you don't understand that is exactly why you need to spend time with veterans who do. The judge pauses, then adds one more thing. And Mr. Webb, you will write a formal letter of apology to Mr. Sullivan to be read in this courtroom and filed as part of the permanent record. You will explain what you did, why it was wrong, and what you've learned. If you fail to complete any part of this order, I will charge you with violating a court directive, which carries far more serious consequences. Marcus stands frozen, finally understanding that his arrogance has real consequences. Judge Caprio turns his attention back to James, and his voice fills with warmth again. Mr. Sullivan, before you leave, I want to say something. Your son made the ultimate sacrifice for this nation. You and your wife raised a hero. Every day you carry his memory with honor and dignity. That flag you hold represents not just Michael's service, but your family's sacrifice. Never let anyone tell you it's just fabric. It's love. It's honor. It's everything that matters. James wipes tears from his eyes. Thank you, Your Honor. That means more than you know. One more thing, Mr. Sullivan. I'm going to ask our Veterans Liaison Office to connect with you. No veteran's parent should face situations like this alone. We have resources, support groups, people who understand what you've been through. James nods gratefully. I'd appreciate that, sir. As James turns to leave, still clutching his son's flag, something remarkable happens. Every veteran in the courtroom, and there are 7 of them, stands at attention and salutes, not to the judge, not to the court, to James Sullivan and the flag he carries. James stops, turns, and returns the salute with his free hand. Tears stream down his face. Judge Caprio watches this moment, and his own eyes fill with tears. This is why he became a judge. Not to process citations and collect fines, but to ensure that dignity, respect, and justice still mean something in this world. 6 weeks later, something beautiful happened. Marcus Webb completed his 40 hours at the Veterans Center, and the experience changed him. He spent time with Korean War veterans, Vietnam veterans, and younger veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan. He heard their stories. He learned what sacrifice actually means. When Marcus returned to court to read his letter of apology, it was genuine. He stood before James Sullivan and said, Mr. Sullivan, I was ignorant and disrespectful. Your son died protecting my freedom, and I dishonored his memory. I'm truly sorry. I'm going to continue volunteering at the Veterans Center because I need to learn more about the kind of man Michael was and the kind of man I should strive to be. James Sullivan accepted the apology with grace. And later, in a gesture that shocked everyone, he invited Marcus to join him at Michael's grave on Veterans Day. The 2 men stood together at Arlington National Cemetery, one old and one young, separated by decades, but connected by a shared understanding that some things, honor, respect, sacrifice, transcend age and time. Judge Frank Caprio's decision that day didn't just resolve a citation, it taught a lesson about respect. It honored a fallen hero. It showed an arrogant young man that actions have consequences. And it reminded all of us that some symbols carry meaning too profound to disrespect. If this story moved you, if Judge Caprio's wisdom and James Sullivan's dignity touched your heart, please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video if you believe our veterans and their families deserve our deepest respect. Subscribe for more stories that prove compassion and justice can change hearts and transform lives. And remember Judge Caprio's words. That flag isn't just fabric. It's love, honor, and everything that matters. Honor the flag, honor the fallen, honor their families who carry their memory every single day. Justice served, honor restored. Comment below.